Aloha, everyone. My name is Pia Arboleda, Interim Director of the Center for Southeast Asian Studies at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Good morning to our colleagues in Southeast Asia. Good afternoon to people in Hawaii, and good evening to our colleagues across the continental United States. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this webinar, the first event of Spring 2025, sponsored by the Henry Luce Foundation. Our moderator today is Dr. Meredith Wise, Professor of Political Science and Founding Director of the State University of New York and University of New York Southeast Asia Consortium. She has published widely on social mobilization and civil society, the politics of identity and development, electoral politics and parties, institutional reform, and subnational governance in Southeast Asia, with particular focus on Malaysia and Singapore. We also express our gratitude to our distinguished guests who will explore the autocratic and democratic rivalry in Southeast Asia, a topic of utmost importance in today's global context, focusing on electoral politics in the region. I now yield the floor to Professor Meredith Wise. Thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy today's discussion.
Thanks so much. It's really a pleasure to be moderating what promises to be such an exciting and really incredibly interesting and important session. I will introduce the panel as a whole, just our theme for the day, and then each of the panelists, and then we'll have to hear from each of them in turn. So our topic for today is, as you've heard, autocratic and democratic rivalry in Southeast Asia. Elections have long been a cornerstone of democratic values, and this webinar will concentrate on elections in Southeast Asia, from local elections to presidential or general ones. The speakers that you'll hear from will examine electoral politics, including the fairness of ground rules, the role of election bodies, political parties, election monitoring methods, and other forms of electoral manipulation in Southeast Asia. They'll discuss key issues related to recent or forthcoming elections in each of the countries on which they focus. We'll hear from, I'll give you the four speakers, and I think one was still, we're waiting for, but I'll still introduce him, and that is Dr. Thanet Aphornsuvan. Thanet is a Thammasat Distinguished Fellow and a multidisciplinary expert, a prominent historian with a PhD from the State University of New York, at Binghamton University. He has taught at Thammasat University, specializing in both US and Thai politics and history. He was also involved in the October 14th, 1973 popular uprising in Thailand. He has a very wide publication record, and he's provided political commentary on national television and on other media platforms. Thanet has had various roles at Thammasat, including the head of the ASEAN Studies Program, the director of the Southeast Asian Studies Program, and the dean of the Faculty of Liberal Arts. He's also been a senior research scholar at the Thailand Research Fund, and on the board of trustees of CREP. He's been a visiting scholar also at various institutions, such as the Research School of Pacific and Asian Studies at the Australian National University, Cornell University, and the Asia Research Institute at the National University of Singapore. He's been visiting professor at the Center for Southeast Asian Studies at Kyoto University and the Southeast Asian Studies program at UCLA. He's done research on the history of the US South, the history of Thai intellectual ideas, and the history of Patani in Thailand. His fields of interest are Thai intellectual history and the comparative study of Asian intellectual history. We'll hear next from Mr. Parker Novak, who is a non-resident fellow with the Atlantic Council's Indo-Pacific Security Initiative, which is housed in the Scowcroft Center for Strategy and Security. Mr. Novak specializes in Southeast Asia, the Pacific Islands, Indo-Pacific geopolitics, and US foreign policy. He also serves as the key government relations director for the US Global Leadership Coalition, which is a bipartisan advocacy group that works across the country to make development and diplomacy programs a keystone of US foreign policy. Mr. Novak has lived in 6 countries and worked on 18, and his analysis and writing have been featured by several media outlets, including ABC Australia, the Australian Financial Review, BBC World News, CNN, The Diplomat, The Guardian, The Interpreter, Jakarta Post, Nikkei Asia, Sydney Morning Herald, and more. He is also a term member of the Council on Foreign Relations. He's served in various roles at the International Republican Institute, including as their Indonesia and Timor-Leste director. He started his career as an aide to then U.S. Speaker John Boehner and working on political and public affairs campaigns in the U.S. and Australia both. Mr. Novak, excuse me, holds a master's degree in political management and global politics from George Washington University and a bachelor's degree in political science from the Ohio State University. And he resides in Washington, D.C., which is a very calm place these days. Okay, next is Dr. Seun, who is a policy analyst at the Royal Academy of Cambodia. He's also a fellow of the American Political Science Association and a member of the Meridian International Center's International Committee, both of which are based in Washington, D.C. Dr. Seun was nominated to participate in the U.S. government's International Visitors Leadership Program during the 50th anniversary of the U.S. Peace Corps in 2011 and has spent 7 years involved in volunteerism. He's also a part-time lecturer on geopolitics and geoeconomics at the Royal Academy of Cambodia and Remark University in Phnom Penh, in addition to his work at the Royal Academy of Cambodia. He has frequently contributed articles to the Khmer Times, Cambodianist, South China Morning Post, and other local media. Dr. Seun is a Cambodian native who earned his PhD in political science from Remark University in Phnom Penh. Finally, but certainly not least, we have Dominggus Elcid Li, who is the executive director of the Institute of Resource Governance and Social Change, IRGSC, which is an Indonesian think tank based in Kupang in East Nusa Tenggara. His research examines the political and sociological relationship between subsistence communities and human trafficking, corruption, and the weakening of the state. He's a lecturer at Pelita Hati University and Nusa Cendana University, and a fellow at the Ash Center for Democratic Governance and Innovation at Harvard. His IRGSC, which he heads, is both a policy research institute and a think tank, comprising a new generation of Indonesia-based researchers, scientists, scholars, public intellectuals, and policy entrepreneurs. Its work promotes the study of Eastern and Southeastern Indonesia to promote evidence-based policy through capacity development of scientists, bureaucrats, local politicians, private business leaders, NGO and CSO activists, and community leaders. In addition to research and knowledge production activities, IRGSC works to facilitate social change in Indonesia through civil society. So as you can see, we have a tremendously illustrious and really diverse panel for you today in terms of expertise, background, areas of focus, and so forth. And so without further ado, let's jump to our panel. And it appears that Thanet is not yet here. So why don't we start with Parker Novak?
Professor Weiss, thanks for having me today. We're really looking forward to the discussion. I think we had a great group of panelists here. I'm going to try to keep my opening here fairly short, just so we have a lot of time for questions and to really dig into the meat of this. But a couple of things I want to say about Timor-Leste to set the stage of what I think is a very unique democratic bright spot in a region that's not always known for being a democratic bright spot itself. I think if we were first with Timor-Leste, I think it's really important to remember how far the country has come since regaining independence in 2002. It is quite literally a country that started from near nothing, started from near absolute scratch, because prior to the Indonesian occupation, which lasted 24 years, they had been independent for all of 9 days. Didn't exactly have much time to build institutions, whether that be election bodies, political parties, go down the list. And they withstood, I think, a lot of shocks over that 22 to 23-year period to where we're at now, and ultimately have built a stable democracy that I think is also something the Timorese people are incredibly proud of, whether evidenced by civic engagement or just incredibly high turnout rates at elections, which I'll get to in a minute. And ultimately, I attribute that treasuring of their democracy to the 1999 de facto independence referendum, not only because the act of voting led them to independence, but because, frankly, the price in blood, every Timorese paid for that. Where, for those who know their Timorese history, the period from the election on the referendum to a UN peacekeeping mission deploying was very, very bloody. It was a really awful period. There were some very real consequences for Timorese families from all walks of life. Because of the price they paid for that independence ballot, in some ways, it's part of why they really, really do treasure it. Electorally, their last elections were in 2023 when they had their parliamentary elections. They also had presidential elections in 2022. They do elections on 5-year cycles typically, and outside of a couple of snap parliamentary elections they've had over the years, they tend to stick to the 5-year style, 5-year cycles. And within that, parliamentary elections are kind of the big election, because the presidency is ultimately from a policy making and constitutional standpoint, very secondary compared to the executive and in turn the parliament. How I always tell people is like, how do you wrap your head around Timorese politics? I always say two things. One, you have what on paper is a very clear cut party system, but underneath that, there's just incredibly complicated web of interpersonal and often familial relationships because of the scale of the country. And that web of relationships is really actually what defines politics versus the party landscape. And also looking at the relationship between two individuals. Xanana Gusmão, who is the current prime minister, has previously served as both president and prime minister, is head of the CNRT party, and Mari Alkatiri, who is currently out of office. He is the Secretary General of Fretilin, has previously also served as prime minister in several other roles. And they're essentially the two biggest players in politics, and their relationship, which is often incredibly adversarial, has really defined a lot of political events since independence. And they both hail from what they call colloquially the generation of 1975, which is essentially a small group of individuals who were big players in the independence movement, have won a lot of political and really societal legitimacy as well, where they not only kind of define politics, in many ways they define Timorese nationhood, which gives them a lot of political legitimacy and indirectly has lended legitimacy to the system. Timorese express pretty high trust ratings in their leaders, in institutions. Go down the list if you look at any polling done over the past few years. And when I was at IRI as the Timor-Leste country director, we did a lot of polling on public opinion and politics. And it was just really astounding how high the favorability ratings were. Prime Minister Guzmão, I think he had a 97% favorability rating last time I did a poll. They're just absolutely astounding. Alkatiri himself, he had an 85% approval rating, and some people thought that was bad, funny enough, because it wasn't above 90. But you have these approval ratings that are just to die for. And ultimately, that's an expression of trust in institutions, but I think more so the people who lead them. And I'm going to get to what that means in just a second. I want to do some quick notes on getting election management bodies. Very competent election management bodies in the country. Historically, they had been supported by the UN. They weaned off UN support in 2018. They did an absolutely exemplary job putting a snap election in place on very short notice. Like the Portuguese system, it's a split electoral management body. And it's like Indonesia as well, with KPU and Bawaslu. It's STI and CNE are the two management bodies in Timor-Leste. They're credible, they're impartial, political actors, parties, politicians take them seriously, and they run elections really well. Election observation is quite common. There's always robust domestic observation. The most prominent organization doing that is an organization affiliated with the Catholic Church. It's a NGO funded locally, but ultimately indirectly tied to the church, which is the single most legitimate societal institution in the country. So via that, their observation actually carries a lot of legitimacy with the parties, with the players, with average people, and they manage to cover every single polling station in the country. You do have some international observation missions as well. I was lucky enough myself to take part in two of those in 2017 and 2018. I found the Timorese really liked having international observers, partially because they saw it as giving legitimacy to elections they're very proud of. And it was always just a very interesting experience watching them count ballots, seeing all the hubbub and the excitement around the elections. Really interesting system in that sense. A couple things I want to zoom out to kind of esoterically of this stable democracy we have. It's kind of a island of democratic stability in the region, I think, compared to some other countries. Whilst it looks great now, as we look at kind of a 5 to 10 year arc, there are some factors that could really destabilize the country, and it's to be determined how they'll respond to them. I would say one, these generation of 75 leaders I mentioned who are really key to leadership and stability. They're getting quite old in age. Xanana is now 78. President Horta, I believe, turned 74 this year, if I'm not correct. Inevitably, they're going to be retiring from politics sooner rather than later. And there are big questions around how is a political transition to the next generation of leadership going to go. And that's something we can unpack a little bit. kind of during Q&A, and also looking at the state of the economy. There's a lot of question marks as we look at the future of the Timorese economy. I think a fair amount of stagnation currently, potential economic decline on the horizon, which could increase frustration with the system and ultimately build into either a productive desire for change or a potentially destabilizing desires for change. So I want to put a pin on those two things as kind of we look forward. But otherwise, I think I'm going to stop there in the interest of time. I'll hand it back over to Professor Weiss.
Okay, thank you so much. I have so many questions, but we'll leave those for later. All right, so next we will turn to Thanet Aphornsuvan. And Thanet, you have already been introduced, so you are welcome to launch into your introductory remarks. You're muted, Thanet. You just remuted yourself. Muted.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Good morning. You can see that my experience with online webinar is very, unfruitful. Okay, because mostly we're working on person to person. Mostly the online, Zoom, came after COVID. Without COVID, I probably never used Zoom or any online, meeting and discussion. Okay. So the topic today, is on electoral politics, in Thailand. Okay. So I will quickly give, my big picture, of what happening, in the Thai election systems. Okay. So let me begin with a little history. Well, normally we believe that electoral politics came after the democratic revolution in 1932, which overthrew the monarchical regime and substituted with monarchy, constitutional monarchy, and then with constitution. Of course, with the constitution, they also set up a new body of, legislature, parliament. And with it, came, the so-called, election system. Okay, so quickly, next year, in 1933, Thailand, or Siam that time, started the first election. Okay, but it's indirect election. Okay, but let me, take it back a little bit, that, but actually, the so-called, electoral, the party, started even before 1932 revolution. Okay, but it's a slightly different meaning and package, because I think by 1890, during the big transformation of Jackie dynasty, Siam, transformed into a kind of modern system of government. And the first mission was centralize the whole kingdom. Okay, and along with it, the government started to build a new national identity with borders, with provincial demarcations, and with it, the so-called local governance. So by 1890, the first law on provincial administration came, and with it came the so-called electing. Now this is the confusion, because in Thai we call การเลือก election is now we call เลือกตั้ง. Okay, so people always confuse, the thing, oh, that means election started in 1890. In this law, it allows, village, the male and female, they call หญิงชาย. Okay, the Thai word หญิงชาย So in translate will be male, female. Okay, the same word. Okay, not and, but it one word. Okay, or to confusing. Okay, but that time, the Thai word is เลือก, which I think, it in English should be choosing, not elect. Choose because the village, everyone, will go, to cast your preference. Okay, they're not vote, they call according to your preference. Who do you want to be your village head? กำนัน and then the อำเภอ district, head, ผู้ใหญ่บ้าน okay, the two levels of the fundamental, local government, started in 1890 using the so-called choosing by preference of the villagers, okay, and the debatable, whether it started with male and female able to choose. I think Catherine Bowie, she found this out and then she said, yes, the Thai women, had the first election vote, early than other countries because in 1890, that's very early. And I try to explain that, no, that's not the point. Is in the Thai word, I mean people, both anyone, in the qualified person. So it can be male or female. They not specify it have to be male or female. Okay. Anyway, so but okay, it just means, because I think the first choosing system, actually is not democratic because it still depends on the power of the central government, district officers, governor will supervise and then verify, and then they announce, they pick the candidate that they want to be the leader, to be the head of the village or the district or the ampere. Okay, so basically it's still the choosing under the undemocratic process. Okay. Anyway, so the idea of people participate in local election, it's not new. It's something that the local people, kind of familiar, they know how to do it. But the way they do it is now we call it according to the patronage system. They always choose, the big person, the influential person, to give you support or financial or security and then approved by the government, power. So anyway, so the real so-called democratic election came after 1932, and then with equal rights, male and female. Okay, this is correct. Okay. Anyway, so quickly, I think 90 years of Thai democracy, okay, electoral politics was consequential because it's the best, mean, to provide vehicles, for candidates, to become government position and powers. Okay, of course, the group and the person who mostly, will be elected, will be approved, by this system, always the upper class, the elite, or government officials. Okay, the private sector that able to come in, the most number one was lawyers, and then professional like medicine, doctors, and educators, teachers, business people never involved until late 40s and then even 70s. Okay. So in this case, electoral politics are very narrow, actually, produce a much more conservative results and responded to the existing, government power at that time. So basically, such electoral politics, that never produce any contradictory results or make a real change to the system. Okay. And because Thai politics is really unstable, okay, the role of the military, intervene every 5 years. Okay, so 90 years we have 18, 19 coups and rewrite new constitution. That means a new game for elections. So that's why, in terms of democratic electoral politics, the system, hasn't improved that much. It almost give no hope, for people outside, I mean, and normally, no one, will say, I'm gonna run in election, I'm gonna put myself into the candidate of the party, I never heard any one of my colleague or friend, good person, qualified, express intention to go into party under any party, okay? Because we all know that election always run by, voting canvassers, workman, okay? You have to have the big guys, local, influential person to run the system for you. It's not the real voting, and policy doesn't help because no policy, because you cannot change anything in this government. Anyway, so that's why, election actually, never been any, interesting, or exciting subject in Thai political science. I think probably the last point that people are gonna pay attention to, Okay, quickly, I think, so now can we say that, electoral parties, still, had no hope or have no future like in the past 90 years? We look back at the last and before the last one, 2019, that election, after the last coup, okay, there emerged a new party, called the Anakot Mai, or Future Forward Party, FFP, okay, and this was the new, totally new, in terms of their platforms, policies, party structures, and their campaign style, and the policy. Okay, everything, became like a professional politicians. They done their research, they have the topic, they have everything, and most importantly, they recruited, non-politicians. Almost, I think, most of the members of the party and then became the candidate, most have been not more than 40 years old. Okay, so this is considered to be a very, very young, politicians. Okay, and they never participate in the old style Thai politics before. Okay, except their willingness and their, idealism. So we thought that okay, it's they put the news, outlook and everything, sound, hopeful inspiration. So we support them, but personally, I think, if they can withstand, a few or two elections, and then wither away, I think it's okay, we accept, okay. But actually, the night before election, 2019, I went to the Future Forward Party, in Bangkok. The last campaign, they gather, I think probably more than 20,000 people in the sports stadium in Bangkok. They're full of people, supporters, members, non-members, so I sit there, looking, what they're doing, I really impressed, the way that they announce each candidate for each province, the north, the south, the central, the northeast. They really, come with the new, power forces, okay? And then the next, no one expected, that the result of this election, the future power, able to get 80 seats, okay? Ranking the third, the Pheu Thai Party, Red Shirt Party, got the number one, the government party number two, Phalang Pracharat, and then Future Forward Party, the new party that never had any role, any influence in the provinces, in the local, in Bangkok or anywhere, How come they get that much, the electoral votes, okay? So later, we all knew, became the big research paper and, online discussion, that they rely on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and all kind of, of social media, and also their organization, they open up their membership club everywhere, inviting people to join in, they're able to recruit it in a very short time, 1 or 2 years, before election, get the mass movement, the party, in function, okay, and then first we thought, oh, this is going to be party of the new generation, Gen Z or something, people 20 or 25th, the first time voters, is about to 6 million. They got 3 million came to vote for FFP. But actually, later, turned out to be that the voters for this party, composed of many age groups, from young 30, 40, 50 to the old age, okay, and including many professions, government, non-government, business and local people. So basically, that means, the message, the policy, the activity, the intention. I think people trust that this group, it a real, politicians in terms of that come to, serve the people, welfare and solve the problem, and they came with, concrete, issues, they're not just simply, talkative, and just give you, something to hang on for fun, But this is the real. People can feel it, in your gut that this is for real, And I have to mention, that also the leader, Mr. Thanathorn Juнгruangkit, he himself, was a former activist student from Thammasat University, but then he left, to work for his family business, industry business, the big export of auto parts, the Thai Summit group, and he successfully, built the empire of business, and then he left that multi-billions, the business, to start a small party, to run in Thai politics, and later the media, call him, the billionaire serf, Thai 10,000,000, that his asset, They said he left, when he finished, created 1 million baht, and then he said, okay, that's it, and I'm gonna left. Okay, all right. So I have to come to my, the conclusion quick, So with the new party, new policy and new forces, I think, alarm, the conservative forces, So quickly, the state, able to disband, the party, and also dismiss, Thanathorn and the executive member of the party, bar them from political right 10 years. So they have to wait a few years to come back, But instead of collapsing, the followers of the party able to pull up, and then restart the move forward MFP, and then in the 2024, they're able to get the majority vote, become the majority party in election, the last election. So that was the biggest, change and outcome, of electoral politics in 90 years in Thailand. But first time that we can see that, okay, election system really work, even though it's still, undemocratic, and very, bipartisan, and many the state organization try to block, the new party, try to bring them down, by constitution and court, by even election commission, or try to block them up. Okay, put this way, they're still hanging, waiting for the verdict, in a few months, whether they will continue their activities or not, because the latest one they were charged with and the less majesty, against the law 112. Okay, so But given that, very, difficult, path forward, but I still believe that, many people, I don't know, maybe majority or half of the voting, people, still believe that, the new party, the FFP, FP, now they call People Party, the PP, okay? They still believe that this party will continue and people still support. So next we will see, how much the party will produce their result. So if they can get another majority, vote, that will be a real game changing, the factors in shaping Thai democracy. Okay, so I will leave my kind of optimistic, I started with pessimistic, about Thai election, but now we end up with a little, light coming. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Madit. Okay.
Thanks so much, Thanet. And sorry for having to enforce some time limits. Just we want to make sure we have enough time for Q&A afterwards. Which reminds me, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and I will moderate the discussion after we've heard from each of the speakers. So next we turn to Seun, please.
Yes, thank you so much. I will make it very short. Yes, but please interrupt me if I may go longer than your expectation. Yes, just want to go brief about the election here in Cambodia, because Cambodia is one of the ASEAN countries, and Cambodia went through the different wars, like civil war and also the invaded wars. That is the short history of Cambodia. But Cambodia in 1991, because if we talk from the Khmer Rule and also from 1979 to 1989, because that was the tough time and also the sad time of Cambodia. So under the support of the United Nations between 1991 to 1993, Cambodia hold the first general election in 1993. And at that time, there were two main political parties, Phonsinpech party and also the Cambodian People Party, that led by Hun Sen, Prime Minister Hun Sen. And now Prime Minister Hun Manet, that is the leader, that is the Prime Minister from the CPP. And at that time, Phonsinpech is the Phonsinpech and the CPP, because the history is a bit complicated. But in 1993, Cambodia is the first country that we have two prime ministers in the world. We have first prime minister and also the second prime minister. And in 1997, that is the second time of Cambodia to have the general election. And in 1997, we also have the class. We also have the class in the city. I mean the fighting in Cambodia at that time. And because the first prime minister is Prince Norodom Brandut, but sorry, now he passed away in France. And the second prime minister is Hun Sen, that he is now the president of the Senate. But in 1997, we have the class, so there was the big change in political situation in Cambodia. And in 1998, we have that this is the second term for Cambodia to have the general election. At that time, CPP won the election, but Phonsinpech and Samrangsi Party, we have the new political party at that time called Samrangsi Party. So Samrangsi Party and Phonsinpech Party, they combine with each other to protest against the election. So, but at the end, the Phonsinpech Party agreed to work peacefully with the CPP in order to stop the deadlock in Cambodia. I will go very brief. So if you have any question, I'm pleased to answer the question. So in 2003, that was the third general election in Cambodia. In 2003, the CPP won the majority of the election. But because at that time, even though the Cambodian People Party won the election, but they did not won the majority, because according to Cambodian's constitution, there must be the 2/3 of seats required to form the new government. So at that time, there was a long, like 1 year political dialogue, because the Samling Party and Forthcoming Party, they did not agree to work with the CPP. But finally, Forthcoming again agreed to form the government by working with the Cambodian People Party. The fourth election in 2008, that was the 4 times for Cambodia. So again, the CPP won the slight victory, secured the 2/3 majority. So 2008, that was the very good year for the Cambodian People Party to win the election. And I have to say, because at that time, Cambodia and Thailand, we have the political clash with each other. I mean, we have the border clash with each other because of the Rivalry temple, the case. So I think that is very normal, and that is very simple for all politicians around the world, that they like to use the nationalism in each country to be the message to attract the support from voters. Even though here in Cambodia, Thailand, or the US, every other countries around the world like to use this message to be, to attract their supporters. So at that time, Forthcoming influence declined, while Samling Party and Human Rights Party emerged as a main opposition force. So here, started from 2008, there were 4 main political parties: Cambodian People Party, Samling Party, Human Rights Party. But then the Forthcoming started to decline because they have a lot of problems in 2006 that happened for the Forthcoming Party. So the Human Rights Party here, led by His Excellency Kamsakha, that he was the former director of Cambodian Human Rights Center. This is one of the most important year in 2013 general election, because there were so many problems that happened in Cambodian politics. I think that is very similar to Thai politics, because in 2013, there were the Samling Party and the Human Rights Party, they agreed to combine to form one new party called Cambodia National Rescue Party. CNRP is the new political party that emerged from the combination between Samling Party and the Human Rights Party, and they joined the general election in 2013 to compete with the CPP. But at that time, the CNRP gained significant, gained the support, winning 55 out of 123 seats, while the CPP, the ruling party during that time, won 68 seats. However, the opposition accused CPP of election fraud and boycotted the National Assembly for months before negotiating with the government. As the history in electoral politics in Cambodia after the 1993, I think that is very normal and very simple, that many opposition party just like to they will not agree to say the election fair or not, because usually every political party always want to win the election. The ruling party want to win the election, the opposition party want to win the election. So, but however, 2013 become the most important year because many young Cambodian Cambodian peoples and Cambodian youth, they participate in the campaign, and that was the big year of change in Cambodia politics because of the social medias, because of the Facebook, and because Facebook is the most popular media in Cambodia. So at that time, young Cambodian supporters and Cambodian politicians, they like to send their message to and support message to their supporters, to their members on Facebook. So that is why there were so many Cambodian people participate in the election in 2013. Again, 2018 general election mean one party domination because there was the CNRP was dissolved by the Supreme Court in Cambodia in 2017. So as the result, the CPP, Cambodian People Party, won all 125 seats, making Cambodia effectively a one-party country at that time, because there were so many there were 16 political parties participated in the election, but they did not get any seat in the National Assembly. So Cambodian people at that time, they put all of their trust to the CPP. So during that time, after the 2018, CPP, Cambodian People Party, is the only country that lead the Senate and all ministry in Cambodia. But however, at that time, the election was widely criticized by Western countries, leading to partial suspension of Cambodia's Everything But Arms, EBA, from the European Union. That is because I have to say Cambodia is a developing country, and EBA is one of the important factor that can support Cambodia to social development. But the EU was not happy with Cambodia, so they withdraw 20% of Everything But Arms from Cambodia. The current 2023 general election, this is the big change because from 1993 until 2023, Cambodia was led by our former Prime Minister Hun Sen. But started from 2023, Cambodia, there is a big change because we have the new Prime Minister. Since the Samdech Hun Sen, he agreed to step down, and then the National Assembly of Cambodia decided to nominate Hun Manet to be the new Prime Minister of Cambodia. Here, I have to say, Prime Minister Hun Manet, he graduated from the United States at West Point, and then he went for his master and PhD degree in the UK in Bristol University in the UK, and he gained his PhD degree in economics from Bristol. So there were so many discussion and also hopes and also some criticism for the new Prime Minister, because he is very different. The first, because he spent most of his life to study outside of Cambodia, like the United States and also the EU and also the UK. And he speaks English and French fluently. So for the young supporter, young Cambodian people, they have the big hope on him because of his power and also because of his knowledge. But still, there are different interpretations on his ability and also on his leadership, because people expect different things from the Prime Minister of Cambodia. In summary, the election in Cambodia over 30 years, Cambodia election evolved from the UN supervised democracy to CPP political dominance. That is the real history of Cambodia. And the last one, 2023 election, marked a dynastic transition from our former Prime Minister Hun Sen to the current Prime Minister Hun Manet. But the country was still, the CPP was still the popular party in Cambodia, and they always won the majority support from Cambodian People Party, from Cambodia. And this is my last slide. I'd like to show you the picture of Angkor Wat Temple, and also my own photo at the Prom Temple. So if you would like to visit Cambodia, you can come and take the picture that is very similar to my picture here. That looks so funny, and that would be the great memory for you when you come to visit Cambodia. Anyway, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks so much. All right. Finally, let's hear from Dominggus, please.
I would like to share my PowerPoint. Could you open the... I hope you can hear me, because here is a very heavy rain here, kind of a tropical rain season. And good morning from Indonesia. So my background is kind of a sociologist, but also a political activist. So I hope I will not mix both of them. So yeah, I just try to make the disclaimer first. Because since 1990s, I was part of the student activists in Indonesia. So as could you hear me? Is that clear? Okay. So wait, I try to. This is a combination, and I think my recent very early study, actually, because the regime is just started, the Indonesian new military, kind of mixed between military and technocratic government, just recently started. So we cannot make any bold conclusion, but this is a very early sign that I would like to. This is my based on my assessment. So this is 2024. Is in a part of Indonesian cycle of power. I will this is my outline, and then I will the second one about regional election dynamic in Prabowo Jokowi military and mixed with the populism, and also layers of power in different elections in Indonesia, and also reflection after the post-reformation period, I think. So this is the Indonesian cycle of power. This is just a brief one. It's, okay. So the red one is a part of Sukarno era, the first president, 1945 to 1965, and then Suharto period, which is the second cycle is Suharto, new military order, 1966 to 1998. And reformation period, you can see that different colors among Abdurrahman Wahid or Gus Dur from National Awakening Party, PKB, Megawati, Sukarno's daughter, another military, General Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, and Jokowi. This is a very, which is end in 2024, but still have a very strong influence in Indonesian politics until today. And with his son also as the vice president, and Prabowo, of course, the military general. And how this transformation, or how is this transition happening? This is just a bold, a background. I think this on the second term of Joko Widodo, it's already the combination of military and PDIP, Indonesian Democratic Party, under Megawati Soekarno Putri. It's already there. The rivalry between two. That's why it's always claimed Jokowi should be the, petugas party's officer, not only as a president. So this kind of contestation inside the power, and also we can see on the right side, Jokowi also give the chance put also Joko Widodo also still have a very strong influence with the presence of his son as the vice president. And if you can see that the red line in early start, the first and second period, the Indonesian Democratic Party is still a very strong pillar. Under the Prabowo period, it becomes the blue one. The symbol is very important things in Indonesian politics: red, green, and blue, something like that. The green associated with the military, and then the blue one associated with the new coalition, Indonesian Advance Coalition. And also 2024 marks the period where the establishment of the new coalition, and also Jokowi is excluded from the original party, Indonesian Democratic Party. Comparing Jokowi and Prabowo, so he's coming from the very not political circle, actually, coming from the mebel entrepreneur and come to politician. It's quite different with the current president, Prabowo, a former commander of Indonesian Army Special Forces, and also the son of the Indonesian prominent economist, and also the leader of Indonesian Socialist Party in 1950s. And in the political styles, Indonesian populism is a part of Jokowi style. Under Prabowo, military and technocratic become his style. And main development program, if Jokowi focus on infrastructure development, road, building, dam, and etc. Prabowo make a very big cut in national budget for free nutritious food for children in schools. Well, another important point, remark I should mention is if Jokowi announced as part of the leader in G20, Prabowo with his chosen, not usually we have a career for the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It should be career, not a political party choice. But Prabowo bring his choice, Sugiono as the Indonesian Foreign Affairs, and also we also be part of the BRICS at the moment. And this is the red part. This is NTT province on the right corner. You can see that. This is quite different with other Indonesian, maybe similar, quite different with other Indonesian provinces. It's more majority, the religious identities are Catholic, Protestants, and also Islam, but mostly Catholic and Protestant. So the rivalry in provincial level mostly between the Catholics and Protestant, because it's a part of the colonial history. Since this territory was occupied by the Portuguese and also Dutch. So how the Advanced Indonesian Coalition give the impact to regional Indonesia election or pilkada, pemilihan kepala daerah? It's not with the main hub, with the symbol is the blue one. Any color of the parties which associated to the KIMS, we call it KIMS, Kabinet Indonesia Maju, with the main hub is Jokowi, they will get endorsement from the central government. What is interesting is there's different power games in different elections, either from president election, which I think is more autocratic, where many different kind of state institution was used to in favor of the status quo or the chosen candidate, which is negotiated or already agreed by the elites in the central level, which kind of following the kind of deep state mechanism, which mostly the grassroots has no idea what's going on the top actually. And the second one is legislative election coming from the central legislature, provincial legislature, and district legislature. This one is also very competitive, but they call it effect echo, tails effect, which in first and second period of Joko Widodo, Indonesian Democratic Party was in favor position, but in the last general election, Gerindra and Golkar also get benefit from this position. And the last one is the head of province and district city, which is very important as one. Not every so there is degree of intervention from the central government or central elites. Not every head of the province will be intervened, but only chosen as just a symbolic mechanism to show the presence of the coalition itself. This is the result of the general election for the Indonesian president's election in NTT province. 1 point, which favor for the Prabowo. The same position goes to Jokowi in first and second term, and Ganjar Mahfud in the second one, and Anies Mohaimin from mostly of the Islamic parties on the third one. These numbers actually cannot really speak a lot since what was going on actually is under the table, and it's almost it's kind of Jokowi is also very popular with his endorsement, and his son as the vice president. The campaign went easily to Prabowo because of several things. The first one, Prabowo has a strong support from the East Timorese in West Timor. The second one, Jokowi, I think the only president in Indonesian era who visit this province more than 20 times. So this shows something for the people in the periphery area. And in regional election, the political alignments in regional election, it's consists of several elements: religious background, Catholic and Protestant, ethnic and race identities. The very first one I was surprised for the last regional elections. Ethnic background was said verbally. I will tell you later on. So it's also linked to the state institution. For the second and third candidate, the vice of the governor coming from for the second candidate coming from the police background, and the third candidate coming from the army background. And the support from Jokowi is important, and it goes to the second candidate coming from the Golkar party or coming from the Kim coalition. So this is the map of governor contestation in different districts, 22 districts around NTT province. If we look by the color, the red one is the winner. But this is not by territory actually for the winning party. It's by the accumulation of voters, and it goes to the figure who is was supported by the Joko Widodo and Joko Widodo actually. And the blue one represent the Nasdem party, and Ansi Jain is also coming from the PDIP. The interesting things in all three candidates, the link to the central government is quite important. For instance, Melki Joni, of course, the first one from the Golkar has a direct link to Kim's, but Jain, also the the candidate for vice governor from the second candidate, also former member of PSI, whose party is led by another Jokowi son, Kaisang. And the third one, Simon Petrus Kamlasi, the brigadier general, the former brigadier general, also linked to the military, very recent retired from the Indonesian army. what very another thing which I think I find it is very interesting is the contestation for governor into the province. Kim's, there is a contestation between Kim's representative and Indonesian army, which is not really candidate. Not it's very competitive, but also very silent as well. I find it very interesting since the candidate from Indonesian army used the verbal campaign for to use ethnic identity during the campaign. It's very, very rare in Indonesian politics. Since 1975 or 4, something like that, they coined Sara, meaning ethnic, religion, race, and other cultural roots. As it should not be spoken in public. But he used it. During the campaign. So it's kind of very pragmatic, but also very rare, very rare. And also as part of the Indonesian Army new doctrine for the multi-function to replace the dual function in the new order period, water is used as key in governance campaign. So other things, other stuff that I like to look. The number of legislative members based on political parties in all districts, in 22 districts in NTT province. If you look on this, the majorities will be for Nasdem, PDIP, and Golkar, and PKB. This is for the district. So this in the district level. And other things in provincial house, it was led by the Indonesian Democratic Party. And Golkar either second or third position in both election. And if we look on this, I return to this slide, the blue one, focus on the blue one. Very important things, I think Mr. Novak also focused on the Timor-Leste I had earlier. The importance of the primordial connection is very, very important in this archipelago province. And when it's sound, it becomes necessary for the voters to vote following the routes. But it's very, very rare. And I think it's only happened, following to say it openly only by now. And it was said by the candidate from the former Indonesian Army General. That's quite surprising. And then the blue one, you can see that even if you see in other chart, the blue one area, the majority are the Dawan ethnic group. They speak a different language with the people in Timor-Leste using Tetum, but here they using mostly Dawan or also in Bahasa Indonesian language. Okay. So yeah, other thing, very important things.
Dominggus, may I ask if you might be able to wrap up fairly soon?
Okay, please. I'll finish in 2 slides already. So the PSI, this is the political parties was led by another Jokowi-san, Kaisang, and they have actually one head of the district, 2 head of the district at the moment in the recent general election. Some also under very, very young, under 25, and it's a very, very young candidate. So this is the year 2024 is the birth of another coalition. Its role has resembled Sekber Sekretariat Bersama Sekber Golkar in 1960s. Kim style is a combination of autocracy and democracy. In presidential election, autocracy is promoted through different state institutions using direct cash flow, direct contact with local leaders and religious leaders. In regional election, autocracy and democracy are combined. And in legislative election, democracy combined with kinship, interpersonal skill, religious identities, monopolies, etc. This part of the general election is very, very costly. And I think hopefully we can see something good from the result of the election. I think this is my summary. Thank you, Professor Weiss.
Thank you so much. All right. So for those who have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. We have about 20 minutes for Q&A, and if everyone's game, we can extend, but let's see how much we can get through in the time available. I have a bunch of questions, but I want to jump to there are a couple in the chat that I want to jump to first. So one that Parker has already responded to has to do with the end of U.S. aid as reduction or diminution, reduction or end of USAID in the region. So I'll just put forth these three queries, and then I'll add one to my own, and then we'll take any comments from from the panelists. So the one is the impacts for elections and democracies of a drawback or possible cessation of some programs of USAID or other US government funding, how that might affect democracy and elections. The second is, and these are all also from anonymous attendees, with the dissolution of opposition parties like the Cambodia National Rescue Party, the CNRP, in previous elections, how has Cambodia's political landscape shifted, and what does this mean for future electoral competition? And I might extend that question also to Thanet in terms of the banning also of Thai political parties, that when you see people who are getting excited about taking the risks of engaging in politics and then are banned. What does that mean for the future landscape or for people's willingness to engage in electoral politics? And then the next question is, how has Indonesia's democracy evolved under Joko Widodo, the former president Joko Widodo, particularly concerning elite consolidation, weakening opposition, and the potential return of dynastic politics? So that's a lot, but these things, that was actually very similar to a question I had, which is, these are factors that occur across all of the presentations, issues of elites who are there forever or consolidated in different ways, weakening opposition or banned opposition, and the potential return of dynastic politics, or things like in Cambodia, Hun Manet is taking place of Hun Sen. And one might link with that even in Timor-Leste, the fact that you have really just sort of endlessly consolidated elderly elites, despite the fact of a fair amount of, a younger population and some youth activism. And then the final question, I'm sorry to put these all at once, but we're trying to go for, sort of efficient address of the questions. But Thanet, this is from Ahito Kimura at Hawaii, highlighted the importance of young people in democratic or electoral reform in Thailand. Are young people in Thailand continuing to be active after the last election? And then for the other speakers, what are the prospects that young people or students will play a role in electoral politics or democratic reform in the future in Cambodia, Timor-Leste, and Indonesia? So basically, we have a set of questions. I'll let each of you respond in terms of aspects of, first, US aid, like how much that matters. And then second, a range of sort of mishmash of questions about banned parties, elite consolidation, and whether young people will continue to keep fighting to revitalize democracy. So we'll just go in the same order that we took the initial presentation. So we'll start with Parker Novak.
Yeah, thanks. I think those are all really good questions. I'm admittedly going to dodge the USAID question, partially because I'm a registered lobbyist at foreign assistance issues, so hashtag conflict of interest. But I want to actually speak to young people in Timor-Leste, because this is a topic that comes up a lot. It's an incredibly young population, I want to say. I think half the population is under 25, like 75% is under 35. Don't directly quote me on those numbers, but they're in the ballpark. My point being is there's this idea that young people aren't represented in Timorese politics because young people don't hold the top jobs. And there's some truth to that in the sense, if you look at your average Timorese politician, particularly senior ones, they're fairly old. There's not a lot of, when we're talking about, say, young cabinet ministers, we're talking people in their 40s and 50s. So, not really that young either. So on one hand, you could say there's a lack of representation. I would submit, though, that the reality is young people keep voting for these people, and they do so willingly. They're not coerced into this at any point. They respect these figures. Yes, there's a desire for some level of change amongst young people. That's absolutely true, but that is outweighed, I think, continually by trust in these leaders. Yeah. But we're going to see the next generation emerge soon. And by that, I mean, this cadre of people in their 40s, 50s, even some in their early 60s, if you believe it, are in this next generation. Many of who have been cabinet ministers for a long time, who know they're going to be grasping the mantle post-Shinana, post-Horta. I don't want to say post-Alkatiri, because fun fact, he's a decade younger than Horta, and he's much younger than Shinana, and that's a card he is certainly playing, I think, very adeptly in the grand scheme of politics there. But we are on the cusp of a generational change in Timor that not only carries a political question, but can that next generation of leaders build the same societal legitimacy the generation of 75 holds? That's the big question. Nobody knows the answer yet. We'll see how it goes.
Terrific. Thanet?
Hi, thank you. Okay, the first question, how people are going to react to the banning of their party, so only two parties, the Future Forward and Move Forward, already disbanded by the Constitutional Court, okay? And the verdict, the evidence, is purely political, because they don't have a real, evidence of misconducting, or cheating, or any kind of, misappropriate their power or money or anything, but because they try to pay according to the rule, and but the first time Thanathorn, mentioned that he donate money, how many 20 million baht, to the party, because they don't have money, and they don't want to be, under the patronage control, so that's why I loaned the party my money, and that started the Constitutional Court and order up to the Supreme Court, to send the verdict that he abused because one of the election rules said, okay, you cannot donate money more than 10 or 20 million baht, that above that. But that's all, that they send the verdict, that like a execution, yeah. Okay, and then the sending, the Move Forward Party, even harder because they just last year, the Constitutional Court found them guilty of inciting uprising against the monarchy. That's really send you to the execution day only so really serious and that really agitate makes people really angry with the rule, with the state. Okay, so if you ask and then how people gonna react to this situation, that clearly that you are losing, you're not gonna win this battle, because the Constitutional Court, the supreme body, they rely on the Constitution, and then you have the Election Commission, and you have the Supreme Court. Everyone, all these, legal, and political structure, already surround, your party, But I mean, listening to, the people, the members, they're still, stick, strongly, with the party, But the general, member of society, I still, didn't hear, they're kind of, pessimistic or losing their heart and said, okay, give up, I'm not gonna bother with Thai politics. They're all the same, they're not gonna change, But so far, I think people still, hang on with, well, the kind of, between, dark and light, but no one knows which one gonna come, But I think the Thai political, the movement, at least, we won, in 73 October uprising, and then in June, 1992, So the couple, the victory, from people, movement, and Thai government. So I believe that, given this, background, political background, I think that the Thai populace, the educated and the enlightened, the supporters, they're gonna stick and give support and then try to push the party, because it's a two-way, it depends on the party itself. If the party just start to make you feel that they're gonna give up, then they're gonna fight, they're gonna try to design new way to survive this one, Of course, people are gonna just gradually, I mean, losing their support too. But so far, the key, the members and the leaders of these people party, still hang on, still, speak in one voice, that okay, we still united and hopefully, we can weather through these storms, So I still believe that we will have some hope in the future. Okay. So number two, quickly, so you asked about how the young activists, young people, they're able to come in, and to join with the movement in the future. I think, it has to do with economic situation, And Thai economy in the past, 2 decades or more, proved to be one of the successful, economic system expansion development in the region, And so they know that, we're able to move, the country, economically, even though politically, not that best, but somehow, if we can, get the economic engine moving, then we will have at least, the future to stand on. So I think economic, factor, gonna drive, the new generation, to try to move ahead, even though political system still lag behind, but at least, it given, to half and half, okay. The provincials, now the People Party now went out to local parties, and they start to make some headway, in election in provincial administrative organization. Last week, they won just one province, okay, from 47, but just one, It's very, very minimum. But they went into second and third, in big provinces like Chiang Mai, So that means, they already, send their, the new wave, into the local party, and that will be the grassroots movement. So overall, I think the young, generation, will still have their hope, will still have their avenue, open up now for their, for their future. Okay, thank you.
Okay. We'll turn to Dr. Sam, and there's a new question that I'll just ask you to blend in, which is about what the prospects are for the Khmer Rouge Party, whether it might face the same sort of dissolution. So if you're addressing CNRP, you might add that into the mix.
Okay, thank you so much. But
Yeah.
can I just also talk a little bit on the USAID cut?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I mean, because I found that is very important for Cambodia. First, just would like to show my respect to the support and donation from the American people through the USAID. The USAID is very important for all the majority of Cambodian peoples, and especially because the USAID supported victims of during the Khmer Rouge, and also the public health in Cambodia, and also other poor people in Cambodia. And because Cambodia, we've been through the Khmer Rouge and also the civil wars, that is a long time. So the support from the USAID become very important for the Cambodian people. And until now, many NGO staff that receive funding from the USAID. So when the United States decided to cut off the support from the USAID to Cambodian people, that majority of those who work in the NGOs and also the majority of Cambodian people who depend on the public health under the support of the USAID, they are directly affected because of the stop. But anyway, we respect the decision of the US government, because that is the US money, that is not Cambodian money. We respect that. But one thing that I would like to mention here is that because it is related to the political atmosphere here in Cambodia, some people here in Cambodia, they accuse Cambodian Prime Minister Cambodia because not to have the good relation with the US. That is why they cut off the USAID support. But actually, that is the decision of President Trump. That is the decision of the US government to stop funding, or maybe they want to dissolve the USAID office in the US. That is very strange for us from the developing country, especially from the outside, from outside of the US. because the United States is one of the respected countries around the world and with a big and good reputation. But there are a lot of changes and also a lot of surprise recently. So many people, they change their mindset, change their thinking. But however, that is the US money, and that is the US government decision that we have to respect, and we all agree on that. But yeah, there is no one can stop that. But again, just would like to repeat that the USAID is very important for the developing countries. We don't want to spend the US money for all the time, but still there are people who needs their support around the world. The second, I would like to go to your question because regarding the CNRP here in Cambodia, first, I would like to classify in two different things. The first one is you want it or not, you like it or not, but we have to focus on the laws in Cambodia. And the second one is that we also have to focus on the political environment here in Cambodia. So political environment or political power or political shape in Cambodia that determine or that decided on the political atmosphere here in Cambodia. There are also one more important changes because right now is the world of our world become very small, and it is the time of internet. It is the time of social media. So there are true and false information that everyone can spread, can talk, or can discuss with each other easily. So I think people can judge what is right and what is wrong by themselves. But however, we have to base on the law of each country, or we have to base on the culture, we have to base on the tradition, and we also have to base on the geopolitical capacity or geopolitical competition of each country. So this is very complicated and also hard for me to answer directly to your question. I hope you understand that. But because it is related to many different things, right or wrong, and everyone know, but everyone have their own reason to interpret each point specifically. But however, regarding to the young generation of Cambodian people, because Cambodia is one of the developing country, and around our 60% of people are the youth. So Cambodia have so many young people that they enjoy the surfing on internet, or they enjoy like to get more information from the social media. So Cambodia is one of the potential country in terms of young population. But if we focus on the majority of people who are interested in political situation, or who are interested to know what is going on in the country and what is going on outside Cambodia, that is very limited. So I think I know my answer is too broad, but please apologize me, and please understand that this is the time of internet. This is the time that everyone can know and what is right and what is wrong. But also please focus on the root cause of history, and also the root cause of the political atmosphere of each country. I would say one last word, because Cambodia in 1999 started from 1999. Cambodia, we started from having no choice. After the Khmer Rule, Cambodia started from having no choice, and then we started to have one or two choice. So I believe during this time, this is one or two choice is the good choice for Cambodia if we started from having no choice after the Khmer Rule. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. And with apologies for going just a little bit over time, please bear with us. We'll turn to Pak Dominggus.
Okay, just a quick one. So on terms of the USAID, it's important in terms of the public health issues, such as for the HIV, patients, and also I think and also it's very important for other minority groups, especially for LGBT groups in Indonesia. which is kind of impossible to be supported by the state funding or others, or even from the religious funding like a zakat, something like that. So if I may suggest, if the determination should be whether the decision in the in the U.S. Congress, it should not be a drastic decision because it gives a very tremendous impact to the people in the grassroots for those projects already taking place. It will be a very bad campaign for the U.S. in for the people, and then that's the thing. People, of course, we will find a way to adjust things, but it will take time. And then it's not easy to replace for those sensitive issues, as I mentioned before. But also, yeah, I think this is a issue inside United States as well, which I also understand about the inequality which is exploited by the Trump and the supporters. And I think other issue about the student activist movement, youngsters participations. Student activist movement, it was for me was things from the past than up now. Think something since in the like 1990s something, because more and more state university just become like get a very big impact of on the under the neoliberal policy, budget cut, and then they need to find their own money to support the education inside, and it pushes the students to finish soon, and it's very expensive. The second one, there is also big opportunities for the youngsters to compete in political election directly in very young, very young, 20s. It's very, very young. And then, other, of course, there's young and with very influential and rich parents, but also they're also young who also they have independent politics, and it works as well. So I think this gives a lot of opportunity for many under the, in the grassroots as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to all four of our panelists. Thanks to all of you in the audience. Sorry to run a bit over time, but this has been a really provocative and interesting and just very thought-provoking overall conversation. So thanks for your insights and your analyses, and thanks to the Center for Southeast Asian Studies at the University of Hawaii for putting this all together. And I will turn things over to Terry Skillman now.
Well, thank you so much, Meredith. We really appreciate you moderating this very lively session. The information is so valuable, especially given the time that we are in right now. So Pak Dominggus, Mr. Novak, Dr. Seun, and Dr. Thanet, we really appreciate your time and taking, the time to put together wonderful presentations for all of our viewers. So with that, I ask you to please look at the chat and fill out this survey that we have. Also, we have an upcoming flyer for the next Luce webinar that will be in March, and we hope you will join us then. So from Hawaii, mahalo nui loa. We thank you so much for all your time, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Good
you
to
so
see
much,
everyone.
Thank
So
you.
nice to see you
Bye.
again, Sam and
Yes,
Thanet.
bye-bye. Yes.
Okay. See you.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.